Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, episode 269, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. It is July 19th, you're watching it on the 20th or later, and I am Mike Byrne, aka magicman, your host, and we've got lots of small news, lots of lawsuit news, and I'm not gonna spoil Jason's tweet because I literally laughed out loud at it when I saw it, so pay attention for what I thought was an incredibly funny tweet in story number 2 after we get the rapid fire round out of the way. But first, we've got to introduce the host, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you?
All my tweets are incredibly funny. Follow me at Winter Informal on Twitter.
This one was
okay, right there.
Particularly amusing to me, and I literally, in my office all alone, laughed out loud when I read it.
Also, it's not my best material, I didn't think. I've done better.
I think you have, but this was very funny. Also on the line, Ms. Gwendolyn Bowers. What's up, Q?
All my tweets involve kittens.
Yes, kittens and Doctor Who.
Kittens and Doctor Who, that's where we're at right now.
That is about 80% of the internet, right? Kittens and Doctor Who.
Right. You are on your way to being the most followed woman on Twitter. I mean, you are just that close. You got cats, you've got Doctor Who, it's done, it's in the bag. But let's slide over and get started with the news. Alright, so what do we got? Let's start today with a mini little rapid fire round, since we've got a lot of smaller news, but not like really small news. Some of these are pretty big, they just, you know, you can't talk about them forever. So we're gonna give them all to you right in your face. And the first one is Dauntless, our friends over at Phoenix Labs. They hit the 2 million player mark this past week. A little over 2 million. And it's hard to, you know, that's a big number, and obviously they play the whole, you know, that it doesn't mean active players, doesn't mean, you know, they don't define it, so it's probably 2 million accounts, Jason, and we know that, and that's fine. But that's still, I think, a pretty impressive number when you think about that game just went into open beta, like, at the end of May. So we're talking 2 months, Jason.
Yeah, less than 2 months. So, you know, it's reasonable to think that at least throughout June they had at least somewhere in the high 1 million total players playing at some point throughout June. So, yeah, pretty good for such a new game.
Not too bad, Q. Not too shabby, huh?
No, and actually I think I did put into the post somewhere that, you know, they didn't clarify exactly what the numbers meant, because I'm pretty sure I count as one of those 2 million players, and I haven't played basically since it went into open beta. So
I think we all count in that number. All three of us. Yes.
And Zach too.
And Zach too.
And probably Troy.
Well, we know Troy.
Troy was Troy all definitely.
Over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Troy was all over Dauntless for a little while. I don't know if he still is.
He's flaky, like the rest of us. So
I think he's flakier than the rest of us.
They also
no, you haven't seen me.
They also announced some content too coming, and this is kind of this is like what, their second real like content announcement, Q, wasn't it? I seem to remember one other one, or is this the content that they announced a month or so ago?
I think they did one like right around launch, or like right around the beta launch, and so this is a newish one. But I mean, it's still from what they're describing, a pretty decently sized amount of content for people to do. So if you're already bored with doing the other stuff, there'll be new stuff to do soon.
Yeah, Ramsgate, the kind of social hub of the game, Jason, going to be changing. So we had a meteor impact Fortnite, and now we're going to have a Dreadnought just crash into Ramsgate, into Dauntless, kind of changing it physically, putting new NPCs there, new stories, new quests, a new behemoth, which I'm sure Dauntless players are all geared for, and the first truly ranged weapon, Jason. That makes me happy, and I think that makes you happy as well.
Okay, that wasn't in the notes, so I don't even know what that one's about. What's the new range weapon?
An Ostian repeater.
Oh, that's what that is. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Basically,
Oh,
it's
right there.
a
No.
spaceship. Or
Yeah,
a
see?
ship
It's
with
in the notes,
audience.
damn it. Nice try, Jason. Don't try to put that on
I
me.
was still reading about the release that's down below. Okay, fine. What I think is funny though is it releases on August 9th. What else happens on August 9th? Anybody know? No.
No.
That's when Monster Hunter World releases on PC.
Oh my god, you're right. That's the Steam release. I saw that.
Yeah.
And then 4 days later, you have World of Warcraft's expansion
Oh yeah, that's right.
on
yeah.
August 13th. So, yeah, well thought out. I don't know. Hey, just throw. What do you got to lose? You're a free-to-play game. Just throw it out there and see what happens. But the repeaters, tell us a little bit, Q. You were telling us that before I made fun of Jason for not reading.
So basically, the premise of this particular content edition is that the group of the Ostians crash land, and they end up bringing their technology with them. One of the items of which happens to be the gun or the ranged weapon. So you're alien tech. You're getting some alien tech, or I don't know, maybe alien in the sense that they're just from another island or something. But anyway.
I suppose that's one way to introduce new weapons, Jason, is just have them mysterious.
Fall from the sky. Yeah.
Totally new faction. Here's some weapons.
Right. Just have it just fall from the sky. But hey, impressive numbers. Looking good for Dreadnought. Hope it keeps it up.
Dreadnought.
I was reading the Ostian Dreadnought as I was saying this. Dauntless. So yeah, I mean,
So neither one of us can read.
yeah,
really.
apparently, but at least I knew it was there. But hey, good news for Phoenix Labs. We'll see if it continues to play out that way with August 9th bringing its primary competitor. Hey, there is a big difference though, right? Free to play versus whatever it is, $50. We'll see.
60 actually. I looked it up.
Is it 60? Yeah. All right. What else? Hearthstone. Now, there really isn't a ton of Hearthstone news besides, they announced their accidentally and then had to, for real, announce their new expansion. Oops, we posted the video on YouTube. We took it down. Oh shit, people got it. Let's just announce it. And so that's fine if you're playing Hearthstone and following it. You already know that, but I wanted to bring one particular point in the new expansion out on the cast here, Jason, to kind of get your take on it, since you worked in this game space before designing card games and thinking up these keyword mechanics and things like that. And so they're introducing magnetic as a new keyword in Hearthstone's update, the Boomsday Project, and here's the way they kind of described it, right? Minions with the magnetic keyword can either play by themselves as usual or attach themselves to another mech already in play, adding all their stats and keywords to the other mech. And if you want to play a magnetic mech by itself, you just play it right out to the right of your minions. And if you want to attach it to another mech, you play it to the left. Now, that's not a big deal because we're not talking about a physical card game, right, where now you have to remember different plays. The board's going to kind of figure that out for you being online. I can't decide if this is an interesting mechanic or just a really cheap mechanic, Jason. So I wanted to ask your opinion as a creator of these types of things.
Oh, I'm right on board with you, man. It's like every time they do a Hearthstone expansion, generally for like even the physical CCG, you try to have some sort of new thing, new mechanic, new twist or whatever. Ideally, you don't go too overboard, like with some of the Star Trek and Star Wars games I worked on way back in the day, where they had like these multi-page handouts with all the new rules. Like, here's how you destroy the Death Star. You got to play this card and that card, draw these cards, and get that to work. Okay. That was probably a bit much. Now, generally, when they've done Hearthstone or even like I said, other card games nowadays, they simplify it a little bit. Like you have something like the Death Knight cards in one of the recent expansions, where it's just, here's one card, it plays and it changes your hero power. Okay, that's kind of neat. The quests that they had, that was kind of a neat thing too. Discover was a new mechanic they put in, a new keyword that lets you, look through your deck pick one of 3 cards at random, sort of. And those were all kind of neat and kind of interesting things that happen. And then this is just like, This is just adding some numbers together. And I agree with you. I think that, like those other stuff I looked at, when the Death Knights or the quests or even Discover was coming out, I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. That's a neat thing. I kind of want to figure out. I want to play with. I want to build decks around that. This is like, I'll get to add some numbers.
Yeah, and it works.
Is there going to be a theme?
Yeah, I liken it to various things in Magic the Gathering queue where you can cast it as a 2/2 creature, or you can cast it as an enchantment and give target creature +2/+2. Very reminiscent of that type of mechanic, in which case, does it really need to be a keyword by itself? I mean, couldn't the text just be 2/2 monster? Or, I don't know. Okay, fine. Yeah, great. And there's going to be some interesting play around it, I'm sure, with different combinations of cards. And since it does transfer the keywords, I thought that was a pretty important part, Jason, that kind of made me go for a minute, well, maybe this isn't cheap as just in stack numbers. I think some Hearthstone people could really find some interesting things with stacking keywords onto certain cards. Not being intimately familiar with all the cards myself, I don't have an example, but I feel like it could be there, Q. What are your thoughts on magnetic?
The only thing I want to know is when they lay the card, like I just imagine in my head somebody getting a whole bunch of these magnetic cards and then just laying them all out and them all just swarming together in one thing in the visuals.
it's very Voltron.
Yeah, basically going Voltron with them and just making a ball of something. Like,
you can only play one at a time, so no.
Right, it is limited.
That's no fun then.
That was the other thing. No, it was like, why isn't this just an enchantment then? Or something like that, or a buff.
Well, they talked about how when they were originally developing Magnetic or developing what they were going to do with this expansion, they had a bunch of different effects. Some of them were just the add numbers together. Some of them were, attach some other thing to a mech or do some other thing with a mech. And they thought that was all a little too much to try and have these different choices on every single card. So they just narrowed it down to this one concept and made that into the new keyword.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm sure some people are going to come up with some creative builds and creative play with specific cards, and we'll get to see that all on YouTube and Twitch and everything. But okay.
Yeah.
This
it's not exciting me.
Yeah, this one doesn't excite me. I just felt like, oh, all right, so I can stack some stats and throw a couple keywords around. Speaking of card games, though, so update in personal life in real world, right? So I've been collecting. Yeah, I've been collecting the Opus cards from the Final Fantasy trading card game since it came out. Opus 6 just came out last week. And so I have full standard and foil sets of Opus 1 through 6, right? And then boxes of duplicates in harvesting those collections. You know how it goes, Jason. You know how it goes, Q. It's,
why I don't do that anymore.
Right. But I never bothered to learn how to play the game. I didn't care. I was just collecting the cards to collect the cards. So about a week or two, maybe 3 weeks ago, my middle son and I decided we wanted to learn how to play a new card game. We play Magic occasionally. My boys are into it. I taught them how to play, and so I'll sit down and play that with them occasionally. So we started surfing around the internet, and we were like, well, wait a minute. We were looking at whatever, Forge of something, and we have a bunch of different card games. And we were like, well, wait a minute. We have thousands of duplicate Final Fantasy cards downstairs. Let's just learn how to play that game and see how that goes. So now we're addicted, right? Have been for like 3 weeks. And it still, to this day, annoys me, Jason, that no other game besides Magic the Gathering can say tap. I hate that. I hate that. In Final Fantasy, it's dull. In other games, it's exhaust, it's spend, it's commit. Oh, God.
They filed the patent.
Just let me say tap. Anyway, just wanted to get my minor annoyance with Wizards of the Coast trademark of tap, as in dulling a card sideways. Anyway, on to Blade and Soul, who's going to have a big update coming up soon. And then, Jason, you just posted some more Blade and Soul news today. Now, their next big update is kind of a ways off, right? It's one of them... Wait. Oh, wait, no, this is not the date I thought it was. This actually drops today, doesn't it, Q?
Wait, False Idols?
Yes.
The 25th.
What's 18th in here? Beginning July 18th, players will need to clear at least one of these a week in order for the rewards.
Right.
Oh, that's
so
the Tower of
actual,
Affinity change, right?
Yeah, that's the Tower of Infinity and Circle of Sundering reward eligibility changes.
All right, so you take us through the bigger changes here then.
So basically, this is from a post where they're just discussing items and systems changes. It's not like the actual full content of the update, but it's stuff that will obviously impact what they're planning on doing. You know, the whole rolling some of the stuff out so we don't have to roll it all out at once kind of deal. So in this case, the Tower of Infinity and the Circle of Sundering, they're basically making it to where starting now every week, players will have to complete at least one clearance of either one of those in order to be eligible for rewards and ranking and everything on those.
Gotcha.
Um,
And Jason, they're adding fishing now. Well,
yeah,
fishing event. You know, it's
well,
already
I think it's
in
coming back. It seems like
Right.
it's coming back for the second time. But I just wanted to point out, though, I just noticed that the Tower of Infinity. So that's in Blade and Soul, and Aeon has the Tower of Eternity. NCSoft, come up with some new ideas for your towers, okay? Please stop reusing that exact same concept.
Oh, come on. Those are different words, Jason.
Yeah, but
You're
they
just
mean
being
They
mean.
basically mean the same thing.
All right, so
Tower of Forever, whatever.
what's going on with fishing? The fishing event that's coming back.
Yeah, well, first of all, you got to go and beat the pirate who apparently poisoned the entire lake with alcohol.
Like you do.
Yeah, you know, that happens, I suppose. And once you do that, you get hooks that you can then use to go fishing and get prizes and outfits and all sorts of other stuff.
Yay! So
Yay,
if you're Blade and Soul, plenty of stuff going on in Blade and Soul. Moving on to Warframe, we talked about last week's going to the Switch and the Sacrifice and some upcoming expansion content in Warframe, but we're also going to see the Prime Vault opened again, and Nyx Prime and Rhino Prime will become available again on July 24th. You can get them obviously in their own packs or one big pack that includes all of them. Not really much to say there, I think, lady and gentlemen, but we wanted to make everybody that's a Warframe fan be aware of it. And Warframe still in it for our World Cup of free-to-play. There are 4 titles left, Jason. Where do we stand right now?
Let's see. Damn, I wasn't expecting to do an update right now. But yeah, it's Star Wars Old Republic and Path of Exile are in 1, and that's a surprisingly close affair. You might want to get your vote in. You might still have time if you're seeing this like early-ish on Friday.
Yeah, Star Wars is all over our Twitter. They are amassing the troops on this one.
They're bringing the clones, probably.
Zing.
Yeah, and then Warframe and Terra, that one's not quite as close. You can see how that goes. So.
I'm going to be honest, I'm amazed Terra made it this far. Like, and that's not to say disparaging things about Terra, but I did not anticipate Terra making it to the Final 4 here.
Terra actually did not win its group. It's only one of the Final 4 that did not win its group, so that's kind of interesting too, but that's where we are.
Wow. All right, so make your predictions then. Who wins this, Q? Out of Warframe, Path of Exile, Star Wars The Old Republic, and Terra, who takes the World Cup of free-to-play? Because we'll have the answer for next week's show.
we were discussing this the other day, and basically I said, and I think some people agreed with me, that it would end up being Warframe, but kind of close between it and Path of Exile.
All right, so you got Warframe and PoE in the finals with Warframe squeaking out a victory. Jason, where do you sit?
If you'd asked me yesterday, I would have said the same thing, but now I think Warframe is going to have SWTOR in the finals. I think SWTOR is going to overcome.
The SWTOR audience is all over the Twitter, and I don't know where the Path of Exile audience is right now.
All over the Twitch.
Probably.
They're actually playing their game. SWTOR fans don't actually like it, so they're on Twitter. Right?
I'm going to go with Warframe, and unless, you know, Grinding Gear Games, I mean, it's not like we tagged every game and everything on Twitter, so the communities of those games had a fair chance to find the tags and the mentions and see it, and the companies involved had a chance to see it and be mentioned and share it. So we made it as fair as possible. We've only had one tiebreaker that we had to resolve behind the scenes by casting our own votes when we elected Battle Right to move on over H1Z1, which really didn't matter anyway. They were summarily removed from the competition in the following round. But Yeah, I'm going to go with Star Wars The Old Republic and Warframe 2. I think if it comes down to that, Warframe walks away with it, unless the Star Wars audience gets super aggressive, which we've seen them do in some March Madnesses, Jason. So it'll be interesting to watch it play out. In final news here, we're going to turn it over to Jason for some Guild Wars 2 chat. Festival of the Four Winds and the Royal Pavilion, they open, I think that's this week, isn't it? A little later, or is it early next week?
It's early. It's like next week. It was
Gotcha.
July 24th. Yeah, Tuesday. So, yay, Guild Wars 2 news that isn't controversial. All right. But yeah, so the Festival of the Four Winds is something that they did 2 years back in 2013 and 2014, where you go to this area and there's all these crystals that you can use to like move around in different ways, like do giant leaps or move super fast or whatever. And then different challenges, places you can go to places in this area you can go to get various things that it's like collect little things, and if you get enough of them, you can turn it in for prizes or whatever. They're bringing that back, minus the airship that was kind of like the big central point of it, because that crashed like right after the last time it was out, led to the whole like thing of the first expansion. Someone's really moving around a lot on their mic, and it's coming through. I hope it's not me.
Q is being attacked by a cat.
Oh, okay, all right, that's acceptable then. The cat wants to be on the cast. But yeah, so it's really cool. The Festival of Four Winds.
It's batting the microphone. Go ahead.
It's a very popular thing that people have been wanting to see back for a long time, and now they're going to get it back. And wait, there's more, because they're also going to bring back the Queen's Pavilion, which is a place in Lion's Arch, which is sort of like a big party thrown by the Queen of Kryta. And they have both the six-way like big battle thing that requires whole groups of people to do all these different fights with different bosses. That when they died, they give their powers to someone else. You have to try and kill them all around the same time. And then also like a solo arena that you can go in and try to challenge individual bosses on your own. So, do
we know why this event disappeared for 2 years? Because I found it weird that not that they brought it back. Even. Yeah, 4 years. Sorry, not that they brought it back. Okay, fine. They brought an event back. No big deal. But they also plan to, from the blog I read, to do this yearly again. So it just seemed weird to me that it ran for 2, was off for 4. And now is planned to be a yearly thing. Was there a reason for that we know about, Jason?
Part of it was like it's kind of like the story of it, like because the Zephyrite who run the bazaar, they crashed in the desert. Their ship did, so it understands it might take them a little while to recover from that. So from storyline purposes, that would work. I think they also had some technical issues that were preventing them from doing stuff. So, and also now they have the mounts, so trying to figure out how to incorporate that into it as well. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just a few different things, but yeah, I feel like it's kind of like Super Adventure Box that they took out for a while, had some issues of getting it back in, and finally were able to bring it back, and everyone cheered.
And Q, this was almost an interview that you had. If you didn't read the interview, by the way, on MMOBomb, go read it. Jason got some great details, but this was almost an interview, Q, that you had to handle, not even really playing Guild Wars 2, huh?
Oh, I don't think that would have happened. That was the reason I just immediately messaged on Twitter and was like, there's a thing, and you probably need to handle it because I don't know. So luckily Jason got back in touch with me, and I was just able to forward everything to him and let him go from there. Forget about it.
So that's your mini rapid fire round. Lots of news. If you didn't read any of it, check it out on MMOBomb.com. If you're a Guild Wars 2 fan, there's all kinds of great stuff in the piece that Jason put up on that one. Moving on to the tweet that made me laugh. So it's kind of weird. We're going to talk about The Culling too, but just briefly. I mean, it was a buy-to-play game, and I say was because they're in negotiations with Valve to try and shut that down and get refunds to people.
Valve and everyone else, like Microsoft Store.
Right, everybody. So it's going to go away totally. But I love Jason's tweet on this, because we've seen games do poorly, Q, and they convert to free-to-play.
Excuse me.
Right. Well, that didn't technically convert to free-to-play, but we presumably, a lot of us think Bless Online is gonna follow suit and pretty soon go free-to-play. And we've seen that numerous times, and we're gonna see it numerous times going forward. What struck me funny about Jason's tweet here is this was a game that failed so hard it shut down and forced other games to go free to play. And I was like, how hard do you have to fail for you to make other games go free to play. It just struck me as really funny, Jason. It must have been right moment, right time. So yeah, Q, The Culling 2, failing hard, shutting down, and The Culling is going to be reintroduced in its day one form, which is important, and we'll get to that in a minute. And that's going to be made free to play. Talk about a weird confluence of events from a developer-publisher standpoint.
I mean, the only thing I can figure is that they kind of looked at it and went, well, this game is doing fuck all, but we've put so much money into it, we need to recoup our money somehow. And now that we're going to have to be doing refunds, hey, let's just roll this other game back and we can attach microtransactions to it, and maybe we'll make our money back on The Culling 2 by just rolling back the original Culling and adding microtransactions, and we'll be okay. We won't have to go bankrupt.
Oh, it's bizarre, and we haven't built game pages or anything for The Culling because, to be honest, the announcement came so fast out of left field with very few details on it, how it's going to be monetized, when things are going to happen. They're going to have a testing phase, of course, and all that things. But as far as official launching and the particulars, we just didn't have it. So we're going to hold on like game pages and first looks and stuff for the time being. But what was staggering to me, Jason, about this announcement was just like the almost tone-deaf nature of the developing and the publishing background behind the game. It was, hey, we designed this game that apparently you didn't ask for. Well, you knew nobody asked for it. It wasn't like The Culling was this smash success, so you created another one. The Culling went through almost the same thing. Where it launched, it was well received. They tinkered and tinkered and tinkered and made changes that slowly just whittled away their entire player base, with a few controversial, big game-changing things like hitbox size and stuff like that being introduced. People were screaming, roll it back, roll it back, roll it back. This was a lot more fun the way it was launched. Stop tinkering with the damn thing. And then are we surprised that they launched a second project that nobody asked for with all kinds of tinkering? It was just so tone-deaf to me, Jason.
I didn't know The Culling 2 was a thing until I saw someone tweet about it like about a week and a half ago. So,
yeah, it did launch under the shade of night.
Yeah, well, the thing that somebody tweeted was The Culling 1 was a decent game that went bad. The Culling 2 is a plain cash grab. Yeah. That's what that person tweeted, and I was like, wow, that's pretty harsh. Let me look into this a little bit, and oh my god, is it just failing completely right out of the gate? So yeah, I mean, they got, let's just say, a little bit of criticism for how they handled The Culling and The Culling 2. So, you know, you got to, he said, the guy, the director of operations or whatever, who said in his video, you know, when The Culling was going bad, we didn't see a way forward, is what he said. Although apparently his way forward was continue trashing our current game and make another game that nobody wants, I guess. Which doesn't seem like the greatest idea to me. Maybe fix what you've got already.
Sometimes when you don't see a way forward, you have to go back.
Right! Thank you, Q!
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's pretty much what they've done, too. So,
if you make a bunch of changes and people are leaving your game in droves and you as a developer don't see the way forward, go back! And just stop for a little while. I don't know. I mean,
it's good of them to acknowledge that they effed up, basically, and they're going to try to fix it, so.
Well, I think
so they have a choice?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I think you're probably giving them a little too much credit on that one, Jason. Q, I kind of lean more towards you and, oh shit, we're broke. We need to do something. And so this being the better option of some really shitty options, I think, Q, you're probably spot on with that one.
If you look at the Steam charts, though, on The Culling, it's reached its high for the past, like, year. In the past couple of days, it's had more players than ever had online in the past year.
Right, it's rolling back to what people liked.
Yeah, it's not there yet. I mean, I think they're still, and it might be the is the test server thing live yet? I don't think so. I think it's maybe a little later, but yeah, I mean, it's granted it's still under 100. It's got like 90 or so at its peak, but that's more than it's had since last June. So
we shall see. Moving on. Finally, so. You may remember back in the day that when ArcAge was launched in the West here by Trion, that part of the really expensive Founders Pack, the $150 one, was a 10% cash shop discount. And we talked about this on the free-to-play cast a long time ago, because that discount never came to fruition. And instead, they put in a 10% credit boost, a bonus on credit purchases was put into the cash shop in its place, and a few people, a lot, that had purchased that pack, got pissed off, rightfully so. You know, mathematically, they may be similar, but they aren't exactly the same in certain situations. And more importantly, it's not what those founders who shelled out $150 were promised. I think, first off, I would never buy a Founders Pack that included something that said, we don't know when we're going to launch this, it'll just be launched at some point. So I think that was a bit sketchy to begin with. This discount, Jason, we don't know when we're going to put it in, it'll come after launch.
Even that, the fact that they said after launch, meant everybody with half a brain thought, oh, as soon as it launches,
right
after launch, that's what everybody thought. And Trion was like, well, we said after. We didn't say when.
Right.
This is when it all started going downhill for Trion.
Yep, and so a few people actually brought a lawsuit against Trion for this, and it's still going on.
Yeah.
It's still going on, and credit to MMO Fallout, who got the information here, and we sourced them in the article, so make sure when you check out our article on it, check out their article as well, because, Jason, you ended up agreeing pretty much with the editorializing that went on in MMO Fallout's piece on this, because the lawsuit's still moving forward. It still has a ton of evidence. Read Reddit pages.
I think it said forums. I don't know if it was Reddit or forum, Arcade forums, whatever. Yeah.
Right, and so the one crux of the suit is this kind of bait and switch. And I think all three of us agree that this would definitely qualify as a bait and switch type scenario. We promised you A, we gave you B, and tried to prove math-wise that that would always end up being the same thing. Okay, that is a bait and switch scenario. Go ahead and take it to court. But what makes this murky is that's not the only part of the lawsuit, Jason.
Yeah, they've also appended a lot into about loot boxes. One of their main thing is how let's see, what does it say here? Basically, trying to get trying to add on to the whole thing about the pre-orders, the issue of loot boxes and how they are unfair or exploitative, and that's where you have the 50 pages of evidence, as I think MMO Fallout put it, which is 50 pages of like forum or Reddits or whatever, people complaining about it, which MMO Fallout described as, quote, players musing the idea that this is probably illegal because I don't like it. And the question of whether loot boxes are good, bad, legal, should be illegal, whatever, that's a thing that can maybe be a conversation, but it doesn't seem to me to qualify alongside.
Right.
It's a separate issue from the perceived bait and switch of the Founders Pack stuff, and probably doesn't belong in there, and probably is hurting the suit more than it helps it, because that was something Trion, I think, actually filed a motion or something to dismiss it dismiss the suit in general because of this crap. So yeah, it's probably not good that they put that in there, and it should probably be its own thing separate if they wanted to.
Q, I think they definitely have grounds to stand on the bait and switch. Now, how much of a reward and damages and recompense and things, I think we're talking minimal on a per-person basis, but maybe enough as a big lump total to make Trion rethink some things that they have done or are doing. But I don't think I agree that the loot boxes part of this kind of needs to leave the suit, as I think it just murkies the water on what is a good point for what I think a company should be held accountable for doing.
Yeah, well, like you said, on the one part, because I don't even 100% understand what 10% credit bonus will end up getting them anyway. Like, I understand discount. Credit bonus is a little weird to me in phrasing.
I think that's like if it's normally be pay $10 to get 500 credits, now you get 550.
Right.
Which credit is like the in-game or the real money currency.
Okay, but yeah, that's just weird.
And here's something I don't know, not being an ArcAge player, but is there a way to gain a cash shop currency in the game, even if it was an extraordinarily small rate? Because I think that's where, to me at least, a big difference might come into play. And ArcAge players, please let me know in the comments below, Jason, because there's a difference between, hey, I'm going to give you 10% extra credits if you shell out some cash for it, and me earning some credits, albeit at a much slower rate in the game, and going to the cash shop and getting a 10% discount on something. There's a big difference there. I have to shell out additional money to get the one discount. I should be getting this other discount simply because of the Founders Pack I bought.
If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably not in there. This being ArcAge and all.
I would probably agree with you. I just don't know for sure. So an ArcAge player in the comments, please let us know if credits can be accumulated in-game. Go ahead, Q. You were saying. I apologize.
So, yeah, as far as the loot box, like, I think kind of we all agree that in a lot of cases loot boxes are just shitty, and they are kind of used in a weird gambling way and everything else and whatever. But, yeah, tying that to the other one, because it is such a weirdly... kind of a complex issue, where this seems, the initial issue seems way less complex. Like, you guys said you were going to do one thing and you didn't do it, you did another. Like, that's easy to put together and be like, yeah, this was wrong. Whereas throwing this, you know, other thing on it that's kind of, you know, a mess of details and stuff just makes it. Now the judge is just sitting there looking at it going, okay. Like...
anyone who has to read 50 pages of angry forum posts.
Right? That should never be evidence for anything that isn't, this person was harassing me. That's the only time that should come into play.
And ArcAge, while does not allow you to get credits in-game, from what I'm reading very briefly, just searching it out, but they do have, and I should have remembered this, that whole Apex thing, where you can farm up in-game gold, buy an Apex on the auction house from somebody who did spend cash on the credits, and then you consume the Apex for 1,250 credits, that you can then use to buy whatever you want in the store. So there is a difference between 10% credit bonus and 10% store discount, depending on how you want to play the game. We'll see. We'll definitely keep following it, and good luck to... I hope Trion loses this. I mean, I really do.
Who doesn't? Other than Trion.
I'm pretty sure Trion hopes they do not lose it.
Well, that's what I said, other than Trion.
Right. I like a comment on the piece when we put it up by Z1M at Trion, only the lawyers end up having fun. Let's move over to the weekly bombs. All right, I'm going to go first. So I'm going to give myself an A-bomb, Jason. Myself, because after we recorded last week's show, which we spent a lot of time talking about ArenaNet and Jessica Price and that whole situation, after recording that, literally as it was being posted on YouTube the next day, I saw, you know, the additional tweets from Jessica via a Yongye video. And when we were talking about it, I really tried to give all the players the benefit of the doubt to a certain degree. In that situation, while, you know, maybe I didn't see how something could be taken a certain way, I didn't want to take away somebody's, you know, the ability for somebody to see it that way on their side, even if I didn't agree with them. So I tried to give everybody a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Jessica Price, Mike O'Brien, and after some more information in those tweets, yeah, I got a shift, Jason. We were talking about doing this a bunch of times. I got a shift. To me, Jessica Price was just flat out wrong, and even I think personally got a bit manipulative with some of the posts she posted after all this went down, and tried to reframe some things and take some of Mike O'Brien's comments and edit them where, I mean, he mentioned both of them, and she tried to make it that the statement, you know, pinpointed her. So an A-bomb to me for not having that information while we were recording. There we go. So I've shifted my view, but I did want to give a serious bomb to all of the MMOBomb free-to-play cast viewers. You all had a wide variety of opinions on who was right, who was wrong, how wrong they were, how right they were, what the whole situation looked like to you. Some people in emails and tweets and comments on the site and on YouTube, we got people telling us that we treaded the line and tried to look at everybody's perspective in a very fair way. We got other people saying we should never have been that fair. We got people saying we were too fair, not fair enough. I mean, it ran the entire gamut. But I will say this, at the end of the day, I think the discussion that was held in our comments, in our emails, in our Twitters, you all just rock. You rock. It's a difficult subject to talk about without getting into 900 other things. And everybody was very respectful. You gave us your opinions on whether you liked the way we covered it, the way you didn't like it. You made your points. We read them all. Just great audience. Thank you for that. So serious to bomb to the viewers on handling a difficult topic, but making your opinions very clear and known on either side of those spectrums. We appreciate it. Go ahead, Jason.
Are we done now? Can we stop talking about that?
Yeah, we're done with that.
Okay, all right. I'm going to give a bomb to Playsaurus, who make the Clicker Heroes series of games. And we discussed this a little while ago. Like back in November was when they put out a blog that talked about what they're going to do with Clicker Heroes 2. Clicker Heroes 1 was free to play. They made a lot of money off it, and then they posted a blog piece that said, we kind of made too much money. And we feel that maybe we were a little exploitative in our free to play. So we're making Clicker Heroes 2 a paid game with no microtransactions, just a one-time fee. It just launched early access a few days ago, so it's kind of back in the news again. I probably debombed them back then. I don't know, maybe. I just wanted to give them another little shout out for, realizing that maybe they weren't as good as they could have been with their free to play. Maybe they were veering more towards the evil side of things. So they edited things up, changed how they're doing stuff, and Clicker Heroes 2 apparently is doing pretty good after those 3 days. $30. I've never played either. I won't endorse either for gameplay. I don't know anything about that, but I just applaud the decision that they made.
Q, I think Jason he's the positive one, just giving so much credit. It's really easy after you scraped in that cash to go, hey, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Well,
Hold on, let me just move this. Let me just move this sack of money out of the way. Maybe we were a little exploitative, so here's a freebie on us that'll cost $30. I'm just saying.
Which is fully refundable for a year after launch, if you don't like it. So,
but let me just move these 2 bags of money from our first.
Look,
okay.
Jace, look, him being, positive, it doesn't happen all the time, so I don't know why you're knocking it.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Making fun of me.
All right, Q, yours. Go ahead.
Totally not gaming related, but since San Diego, the Comic-Con's going on right now, I'm giving the bomb to the Titans trailer. It's like one of the 2 things that I really like from anything from DC, and I'm super hyped about it. So,
woot, woot.
I have no idea what's going on.
No, I had to unmute my mic.
whatsoever.
I couldn't see it, and somebody keeps calling my damn house. Stop. All right. From the viewers, Elusive X Treasure, dub-bomb to my new Demon Wings mount/wardrobe piece in Rift. Probably my new favorite mount ever. And a second dub-bomb to Defiance 2050. I did not see that coming. Oh. Been having a blast in it. The way everything successfully promotes teamwork has always been a draw for me in the original Defiance, and it's nice to see it in 2050 as well. Weird bomb to the naming algorithm in 2020, though. My hubby tried to create a character with a fairly normal name, and it claimed that there was profanity in it. Spent several minutes trying to figure out what it was making out of the name. When we couldn't, we put in a ticket. Hopefully, they'll be able to let him have it. Elusive, we definitely want to know what name was used and what it might have been deciphering as profanity.
We'll see if our dirty minds can figure it out.
Right.
It's in Secret World. I tried to name my character Michelle with 2 L's.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't having that.
Oh, hell. Gotcha. So,
okay, yeah.
All right.
It could be something like that.
Definitely keep us posted. Go ahead, Jason.
Should note, Defiance 2050 is at 36% positive on Steam. So, yeah, I did not see a bomb coming either. Hadrex Sky Shadow says, the bomb to Warframe. I could say that more, but there's no use. It's too obvious why. Congratulations and good job. And an A-bomb to Heroes of the Storm. The way they've usually hyped the community for a new hero is to put a picture on Twitter without any caption, and for 3 days reveal more and more of the picture to see who the new hero is. I love that shit. That's what he typed. Mostly because I'm a huge Blizzard Universe fan, so I usually start analyzing, reading, and searching who can it be. Just to be stabbed in the back with, we have new skins. Yeah, the next hero is coming if you're lucky next month, suckers.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Q.
Squeezy, the Bomb to Digital Extremes hype team. Not every day that you get not only 1 or 2, but 3 hype trains ready to depart. TennoCon setting a really high standard for any game con when it comes to announcing content. They did announce a lot of stuff.
They did. Emiko Chan, da bomb to ArenaNet for proving they care about us loyal players. Heart, my boyfriend and I are buying extra gems this month. And that was the extent of the ArenaNet things, the feedback that I was going to put in the show, because we talked about it last week. Everybody got their opinions out. Time to move on. But we thank you again. Question of the week last week, forget limitations. What free-to-play PC game would you just love to see on the Nintendo Switch, and why? And Nasagra says the free-to-play game I want on the Switch is Guild Wars 2. That one might be a little tough.
Yeah, it doesn't have that many buttons, but it's still maybe a little.
Yeah.
But hey, if you can have 14 on control.
Hey, we said forget limitations. So I believe it would appeal to Nintendo fans because of its approach to exploration, focus on gameplay and aesthetics over realism, and being a game that's easy to pick up and play for 15 minutes, then put down. I want to say it as one of the most welcoming online communities, but that's probably the worst time to be making that point. I also really want Ritlock in Smash Brothers, burn the fat Italian plumber with the flames of Sohothin. That would be a match worth watching. Jason, to you.
Because the last time they put Ritlock in a multi-character fighter game type thing.
Oh, come on. You can't count that.
Yeah, it was crappy. Anyway, Japan's Freak said, I just broth.
I think bought.
Bought, I think? That is a heck of a typo, though, Japan's Freak. I just broth a Switch. He put it in a soup. So nice timing with the question. I would love to see Hearthstone and or Diablo 3 on the Switch.
I think both games.
Hearthstone isn't there.
Yeah, I think both games would be very, very well adapted at the Switch. Go ahead, Q.
The house always wins. My no limitation Switch port would have to be Conan Exiles. I just want to see boobs and dong on a Nintendo system before I die. I don't think that's going to happen. Also, an addendum to Jason's Warframe / Lawbreakers A-Bomb. Warframe had 10,000 concurrent in its first few months, while Lawbreakers only had 3,000, but Warframe was also free, while Lawbreakers charged $30 for itself for some reason. I have no doubt in my mind that Lawbreakers had released free-to-play like it was supposed to, then it would be in a much better state than it is now, i.e. not dead. Well, yeah.
Rebuttal.
Jason, well, we've given point, so Jason, counterpoint.
The counterpoint is that Lawbreakers did do free-to-play weekends before they launched, free betas.
Oh.
They peaked at about 7,500 players, which is less than the 10,000 or 13,000, whatever that Warframe averaged in its first few months. So even as a free-to-play game,
I don't know about that. Even games I'm interested in, I don't want to go through the hassle of downloading them and shit for a free play weekend.
That I'm not, like, if it's gonna be free, like straight up free forever, I'll download the game. If it's like, oh, we got a free weekend, I'll look at it and go, and move on.
Yeah.
There's still a huge difference between averaging like 600 during its first month and averaging 10,000 during your first month. Free-to-play doesn't necessarily make up for that.
We can all agree Warframe is better. Moving on, Hydrex Sky Shadow says, question of the week, probably a very unpopular opinion, but I don't like Nintendo whatsoever. I despise them. So about the Switch, I don't give a goddamn flick. For me, it can just burn and be happy. Flick Nintendo and all their universes. Actually, the games are, at most for me, okay. I just hate the people that run the flipping company. I'm sure you're not alone. I'm sure you're not alone. Jason, finish it off.
And just so you know, none of those were edits. Mike wasn't putting anything else in his word. That's what he typed, so there we go. Miko-chan, question of the week. If all limitations are removed, I'd like to see Matrix Online come to the Switch. It was free when I played it. Rest in peace.
I thought this was... I had to include this one because I was like, when I thought no limitations, I was like, you know, taking the tech out of it and whether the game would work on the Switch and the money and if the companies could combine. And Miko-chan took the limitations in a totally different direction. It was just like raising games from the dead. So I had to put it there. Our question of the week this week, given the calling too... How would you actually spice up the Battle Royale genre? We've asked you to do MOBAs, we've asked you to do a number of other games, but how would you spice up Battle Royale without it? I mean, because there's a danger, Jason, I suppose, of it becoming a totally different genre if you make it so wildly different, and that's okay too, but how would you spice up Battle Royale? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, make sure to give us your weekly bombs, the bomb for something good, a bomb for something bad, or any questions you have for the panel. Until next week, Q, where can everybody find you?
Hanging out on Twitter at Quinlan, and I'm also starting to stream again, so it's basically just doodles of Doctor Who stuff right now. I can't do gaming because the arm hates me.
Doctor Who. Doctor Who
cats.
Yeah.
I'm doing some Circular Gallifreyan, so I'm doing that on Twitch, Quinlan as well.
Jason.
Twitter Winter Informal, streaming twitch.tv/Jason Winter.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally on Twitter right there at magicman1, MAGICKMANN1. But more importantly, while you're on Twitter, follow MMOBomb. That's at MMOBomb. It's incredibly hard to find. It's very obscure as far as the way we named it, but I'm sure you can handle it, and you'll get all the tweets for the latest giveaways, interviews, free-to-play cast, first looks, and more. Until next week, stay safe. See you on the servers.